I was building this dream as a single woman. Not only is running my own business, I'm creating my art, I'm doing it all kind of like in a man's world. It just all got to me. One day it just all got to me. It was kind of dark and pretty ugly. Oh my goodness. So I tell you, I was in the dark night of the soul. I just laid awake at night crying. During that time I lost my dad. I felt like I had lost all purpose. Oh, it was so much for me. Done. I just couldn't comfort myself. This low place. It was just all so explosive. I never expected that I would go through that, but I did. Just had to let go. Did you know that our brains cannot differentiate between threats that are truly happening to us and those that we witness on the media? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Robin McClendon, and this is Pause, Overwhelm, and the Art of Letting Go. What really hit me when I read this idea that our minds don't know the difference between when we're really experiencing something and when we're viewing it on the media. You know, we've heard things like this before. There's been a lot of different Harvard studies where, you know, you may have an athlete that's working out on a preset sort of program, and then you have other athletes just sit there and in a control group and they're visualizing, let's say making a basket, versus ones that are practicing, and that the level of accuracy between the two groups are just nearly the same. So we've heard those things, right? But I don't know that we always think about it when we're dealing with our own anxiety, when we're dealing with our overwhelm. Even when we think about it, then what do we do? How do we manage? How do we regulate, you know, our emotions and our nervous system? And we talked earlier in our pauses about doom scrolling. So we were dealing with that. I think a lot of that we've been challenging ourselves and we're more aware of it. And part of changing anything is conscious awareness, right? When you think about the fact that we can experience something or we can view it and our reaction is the same, then that's to me where the art of letting go comes in. Because we have feelings of overwhelm, you know, we go back in and we figure out, are these feelings generated, you know, from within or from without? I think we'll be asking ourselves that question a lot, because it seems like that's a great way to kind of differentiate between what's happening within our emotional world and what may be happening in the external world. And when you realize that it's not necessarily yours, then you can let it go. Also, I think when things happen to us in life, we can very easily always connect them to things that are happening to other people or things that we saw, you know, on social media or in the news. And that sort of, when it happens to us, we kind of bring those things in, or the mind will bring those in as if they were real happenings, and they aren't, right? So these are all the things that we'll be talking about. But most importantly, I really want us to realize that when we are confronted with this overwhelm, we can definitely practice letting go, because the brain would work in reverse. If we give ourselves permission to not be overwhelmed, to begin to eliminate things, then our brain is also going to see clarity, and it's also going to see opportunity for us to have a different reaction, a different relationship to what's going on in our world. So, you know, this had me thinking about overwhelmed. I have a lot of personal projects that I've taken on, and one personal project I'll share with you. And it's a part of what caused me to start doing pauses personally last year. During the pandemic, when, you know, everything was shut down and all of us were trying to figure out things to do, I decided that some land that I had bought earlier that year in 2020, that I was going to develop it. And I always wanted a barn dominium, and I always wanted large open space to work in. And really, I always had this idea that I wanted to live in my studio. So I built a barn dominium so that the main space, the large space, the living / studio space is just a large, like it's 35 by about 40 square feet. And then the ensuite and the living space is about 35 by 20 something. So it's separate, but then everything else is all mixed in together. And then I wanted to be able to have art retreats and stuff there. And I did have my first art retreat in September. In October. But the overwhelm of this project just really was so much for me, because as a single woman that not only is running my own business, I'm creating my art, I was building this dream place. And I'm doing it all kind of like in a man's world. I mean, contracting and stuff like that is really dude stuff. And my hat's off to these guys. They just do amazing stuff. At the same time, I didn't, always run into the best experience with some of the tradesmen. So, and then one thing was just snowballing after another. During that time, I lost my dad. And so I was mourning. And I had this sense of loss. And then on top of that, if anyone who's built or even just renovated, put your hand up. If you've just renovated a place, you know how much that can take out of you, between governmental regulations and permits and people coming in and getting inspectors. And then I was doing it during the pandemic, so concrete the pricing was unstable. Whatever, all the prices were unstable. Everything was going up by 10-20%, you name it. And so I was coming down the wire. I was nearly finishing the project, and the prices were just exploding. And the budget I had set for this building project, I had long gone past that amount, just with increases. And it just all got to me. One day it just all got to me. And I swear, I tell you, I was in the dark night of the soul. I just laid awake at night crying. I just couldn't comfort myself. And it was just all so explosive. You know how you're in the middle of something and you just can't remove those emotions, and every part of you is trying to say, it's going to be okay, don't worry about it, you've gotten this far, you're okay, it's still going to work out, don't worry. But another part of you is like, just can't even take in that goodness. It can't even take in your own wonderful words, because you're just like done. And that's where I was. And I don't get there often, but I was there. Oh my goodness, in September, I was there, and I was having a hard time extracting myself from this low place. And like I said, it was all wrapped up in the grief from my father, the loss of my father, and everything. And I was feeling lonely. My children were there supporting me. Thank God for my kids, because I'm able to share with them, and they are always like this voice of reason. And so I realized I had to, like, when I finally pulled myself out, I was a few days in this, okay? It was kind of dark and pretty ugly. When I finally started pulling myself out of it, what I realized is I just had to let go. Like, I had to let go what I thought it should look like. I had to let go the amount of money I had spent. I had to let go some of the unfair practices of the tradespeople. I had to let go of how I saw the completed part, the structure looking, and some things needed to change. I had to let go. I had to let go of so much. And most importantly, I had to let go of the loss that I had from my dad not being there and not seeing this to completion, because he was so proud of me. And I felt like I had lost all purpose when he passed away for things I was doing. It was really this strange thing that just hit me. I never expected that I would go through that, but I did. And the biggest thing was learning to let go. Like, I just had to keep on telling myself, well, Robin, it's not going to be like that, so let go of that. Let's look at what it's going to be. Oh, the tradesperson did that. Well, that's how it is now. So how do we fix it? Oh, you're severely over budget? Well, you are. So what do we do? What do we let go? You know, so even in the budget, even on my plans, my architectural drafting, I had drafted plans. I had to start looking at, okay, what am I going to let go? What am I not going to do now? That can be pushed off in the future. You know, I can come back and do some of these renovations or these additional things that I wanted to do. And that's honestly where I really developed this art of letting go when I was totally in overwhelm. And I wanted to share that story with you all because I'm sure many of you have been in a similar place, may be in a place like that right now, may, you know, coming out, you know, are in your dark night of the soul, coming out the other side of it, just, you know, the confusion, like we talked about, the fears we carry, you know, looking at just this place of overwhelm, you know, of anxiety. And I'm gonna tell you, sometimes you just have to go through it, you know. So sometimes you can't even prematurely let go, especially when it's really intense. But the thing that really brought me out of it and saved me mentally and emotionally was just realizing I don't control it. I've got to let it go. And I feel like this week, these weeks, probably this month, next few months, we're gonna really do well by ourselves if we just practice this art of letting go and just saying, you know, it's nothing I can do about this right now. I don't have any control over this. What I do have control over is my emotional world, my you know, my neurological system, over how I define my happiness, how I define the things that are important to me. I do have control over that. And so I'm going to take control over the things that I can. And that's going to help to begin to erase the overwhelm. It'll start dissipating. That feeling of overwhelm will begin to dissipate. And the more it dissipates, the clearer our thinking gets. And the clearing our thinking gets, the more solutions that come up. The more solutions that come up, the less overwhelmed we have. And it's a process. This week in my journal, I've already been showing you this, but just showing you close up. So this page has a flip on it. I always like to do different things. So this piece sort of flips down because I liked all of that imagery. So I sort of put this up. This is a piece that came out of a Coptic Bible that I've had for years now. It's the Coptic text. I love those symbols. It's part of what inspires my own intuitive scripting. And then opened up, I just saw this sort of very, you know, graphic work there. And just putting bits and pieces together. And over here, where I wrote Overwhelm and the Art of Letting Go. And then this piece was glued over it. And then I found a quote that really helped me hone in on what I was feeling and what I wanted to share with everyone in this video. Art washes away from the soul the dust of everyday life, by Pablo Picasso. Loved that. Loved it. You know, art washes away from the soul the dust of everyday life. And that's how that overwhelm felt when I was just doing the art of letting go. And I didn't even know it was the art of letting go. I was just letting go. But I felt like it was just, you know, like my soul was dusting off. And of course, I continued to do my art. I actually held a retreat out at my ranch during that time period. And it was a time for many of us, we came together and there was so much loss. Several women had lost their mothers. I was reeling from the loss of my dad and how that was coming up for me emotionally. It was like some of the first time we all were actually being able to get together again in an art retreat. So the art really dusted off our souls, you know, and so I really love that. So as we move on into this week and you work in your journal, let's just practice the art of letting go. We've been dealing with the fears we carry. You know, we also have been looking at just different ways to regulate our parasympathetic system. And I know we've been cleaning and clearing our studios out, organizing and dealing with the things that we don't need any longer, and giving ourselves permission to be finished with things that we started and this has been sitting there, and we have this feeling of, you know, of not completion, but we already decided, oh, we can call this completed. We're gonna, you know, push it forward. So we've been doing a lot of sort of reevaluating, right? And personal permission giving in this journey together. And so, you know, this is different ways to approach this idea of self-discovery, self-healing, and doing it from the standpoint of our heart, our art, and the joy that we have for spending time creating and being a part of, you know, amazing art communities. And this has been about a part of our pauses, right? And these pauses are designed to really help us ask ourselves a lot of questions. You know, it's all about self-discovery. It's self-exploration. It can be a part of our healing process. It's a part of our art mythos, the stories that we tell visually, why we're even telling our stories. The deeper we dive into our own mind, right, and the reasons that we do things and are a part of various experiences, I think the better we can tell our stories and the more value that those stories that we tell have. So of course, you know, I'm just continuing to pull from the things that I'm dealing with in my week, and I figure if I'm dealing with them, we all are tribes folks together. We're all becoming. Humans becoming, not humans being, right? So with that, we'll close. Love you guys so much. So happy that you're on this journey with me. And yeah, this week is feeling really good. The art of letting go. Love you guys. See you next week. Bye-bye.